Hey guys, I gotta be a little bit quiet because my husband's laying down in here and I don't want to be too loud.
Can I get the free-to-play game that I forgot to download?
I mean, if it's free, Nate, but you're gonna have to delete some of those other games, Nate, because you got so many on there. Like, he has literally downloaded like 7 games on my computer today. It's driving me insane, y'all. Insane in the membrane. Insane in the brain. Insane in the membrane. What do you want, Jetta? God damn it, dude. I just got sat down. Okay. Come on, we gotta go take the dog out, y'all. Come on, let's go outside. Go. Outside, Jetta. Go. So I swatched eyeshadows earlier with you guys. For those of you guys that missed it, that video is going to go up on my YouTube channel. I swatched all the brand new eyeshadows I got that are like so fucking gorgeous. Hey RJ, what's up, man? Come on, baby. Oh, hell no. What did I just slip on? Go. Outside. Go, Jetta. It's fucking my damn husband's geriatric dog. Ugh, drives me insane. Okay, so we hit 27K on Facebook, dude. 27,000 people on Facebook. Can you believe that? I didn't think I would ever get a following on Facebook. But they turned on Reels and it was on and popping, baby. On and popping. So, I've been making videos about Vivitrol. Vivitrol versus Suboxone over there. Because a lady reached out to me. And she was asking me which one do I think she should set up, a Vivitrol program or a Suboxone program, and it's to help people that are like homeless. And I was like, without a doubt, Suboxone. Why do I say that? Well, this is why. In my experience, okay, I've worked for a MAP program for almost 3 years, but two years, okay? I've worked for a MAP program, and in my experience working for that program, because we have people who get on Vivitrol, and we have people who get on Suboxone, we give them the option to choose what they want to do. Of course, we tell them, you know, what we think would be best, but at the end of the day, it's their decision, okay? And so, most people choose to get on Suboxone, because why? Because they're afraid of the withdrawal they can't make it to 7 to 10 days of withdrawal that they need to make it to get on to the Vivitrol shot. So they do the Suboxone treatment. So 9 times out of 10, that's the very thing that keeps them from getting Vivitrol is the withdrawal. They have to wait that long to go through withdrawal. So in a community of people who don't have support, they're homeless out on the streets, then I 100% believe that Suboxone is a better option than Vivitrol is. Because I've also seen people who have gotten on the Vivitrol shot and they had no kind of sobriety basis, and they tried to cut the shot out of themselves because they started craving really bad and they wanted to get high. In my experience, Vivitrol works really good for alcohol, but it's kind of like it's second fiddle to Suboxone when it comes to opiate treatment. If you don't have a foundation in sobriety, like, you know, or you have been trying to get sober and you really, really want to get sober, and then I think that, you know, you need to try Suboxone. Yeah, it takes 7 to 10 days. 7 to 10 days. You have to be without opiates in your system. So that's why so many people don't get on it, you know, because it takes so long. And when you're dealing with a population of people where their main concern is not being sick. When they hear you say, okay, well, you have to wait 7 to 10 days to get on this medication, they're going to say, fuck that bullshit. Fuck that. You know what I mean? That's why I believe that Vivitrol is good for people who have already had established sobriety. So let's say somebody like me who's been on Suboxone for 7 years. Let's say I taper completely off Suboxone, but I want to have something just to help me, down the road, right? Then I get on the Vivitrol shot. And because I've already went through my time on subs, I've already established my foundation in recovery, and now I use the Vivitrol shot as a form of insurance on my sobriety. And I also had a lady ask me a question today. She said that she's like trying to pitch a Suboxone program in her city, and they're saying that it's trading one addiction for the other. I love when people say this. You know why? This is why. First of all, because there's a difference between addiction and dependency. But what I always ask people, I say, okay, then your medication that you take for your depression, are you addicted to your Lexapro? Are you addicted to your Wellbutrin? Are you addicted to your Paxil? Are you addicted to your Zoloft? Taking Suboxone is just like taking an antidepressant. For an opiate addict, it's just like part of our mental health regimen. It's the same exact thing. Same exact thing. Okay? And that is one of the things that I've been able to really open people's eyes. Because 9 times out of 10, you're on some kind of medication for your mental health. Okay? So are you telling me that because you're on a mental health medication that you're not sober and that you shouldn't be being in recovery because of your mental health medication because you're addicted to it? No, of course not. That's the same thing with Suboxone. Suboxone literally treats our disorder, okay? Our disorder of the brain is what we have, a disorder of the brain, right? It treats our addiction. It helps treat that addiction and keep that addiction in remission, all right? Just like our medication for our mental health helps keep our mental health in a good standing, Thank you for speaking up. I'm down to 2 milligrams after being prescribed pain meds for years. Hey, that's awesome. That's awesome. And so whenever anybody puts me on the spot and they say, you're just trading addictions, then I will come full-fledged with the education, okay? Full-fledged, okay? Hey, Ivan, there's a huge difference, first of all, between being active addiction and taking medication as it's prescribed. I don't know about you, but when I was in active addiction, I couldn't keep a prescription of narcotics. If I had a prescription of narcotics, it was going down my throat or in my veins immediately. Hey, Richard. Okay, if I had me some fucking Hydros, I was popping the bitches. If I had me some Roxys, I was shooting the bitches. I couldn't hold on to a prescription, okay? Now, in my recovery, I take my Suboxone as prescribed. I have my prescription, and I'm ready to go, And so using that argument is it's null and void, okay? So many of us have to be on medications for our mental health, for our health as in heart health, diabetes, weight, whatever it is. That it's just stupid to compare and say that those of us that are on MAT are still in active addiction. Definitely overprescribed, and I started taking it the way I was getting 90 perks. Oh yeah, it is weird to say I miss the taste of snorting oxys. Yeah, it's not weird. If I had known about medication assisted treatment earlier on, I would have gotten sober a long time ago. But see, the thing about it is the stigma and the fact that I live in a motherfucking Bible Belt where they believe that, listen to me, I believe in God, okay? But I also believe that God gave me he gave me sense. He gave me brains to use. God's not going to come out of the sky and touch me in the head and take my addiction away from me, okay? So for many years, 10 years in and out of treatment, that's what I was taught. I was taught that I needed to let go and let God, that I needed to pray and meditate, that I needed to just do my 12 steps more, that I just needed to, meditate and pray and all these things more, do my steps. And it's like, no, that's not how it works. That's not how it works. So I was never offered any kind of evidence-based treatment. You know, I was never offered a medication that has like a fucking 90% success rate. I saw a article, you guys, in the Wall Street Journal or the New York something or other, but it was about MAT and the success rate of MAT, you know? Which is like such a high success rate compared to regular treatment, you know. And what I would think is that after seeing somebody go in and out of treatment for like 3 times, if you've seen somebody come through your rehab center 3 times, that's when I would say, okay, hey kid, you've come through here 3 times, you're becoming a habitual offender up in this bitch. Let's try something different. Obviously, abstinence isn't working, so let's try something different to see if we can't get you on the road to recovery. Do you know what I'm saying? Instead of beating that same horse, because what happens is we start feeling like failures. We start feeling like a sham. You know, I started feeling like, well, I guess that I'm just, something's wrong with me, right? All my other people are getting sober this way. I guess that I'm just like mentally not right. You know, there's something, I'm a failure. There's something wrong with me. And there's nothing wrong with you. You're just different. All people are different. So why on God's green earth would we think that only one program can make all these people get sober, right? Like, of course there's going to be people that doesn't work for. Yeah, Sublocade's great. It's a shot of buprenorphine. You have to get it after you've been on subs for a while, though. You can't just, like, get it right away. You have to have Suboxone in your system. Hey, Micah, what's up, girl? And so, sorry, guys. When I think about it, I can't, you know why? And these treatment centers, they know this, you guys. These treatment centers are full of doctors and nurses and smart people, okay? These people know that not every person is going to be able to get sober through an abstinence-based treatment program. But you know what? Teaching abstinence-based treatment serves them, because the more people that relapse and frequent the treatment center, the more money that they make. Okay? When you place somebody on Suboxone, they're not coming in and out of your rehab anymore. They're not relapsing every day. Of course it is, because you don't take it underneath your tongue so that the acidity of the medication is not going in your mouth, because it's a shot. Okay? So if you think about it, AA is connected to all these rehabs. They're in cahoots, right? And so if you rehabs teach our program, and we'll send people to the rehabs, and it all works together, you know? That's one of the things that I noticed when I first started coming onto the scene and advocating for medication-assisted treatment, is that a lot of people who were also advocates, but they were working for treatment centers, would get so angry because I was pulling people from them and helping these people get on MAT, and then they weren't relapsing, so they weren't needing to go through their treatment program 6-7 times, you know? Anyway, I got no skin in the game, you know? No, you can get off of it whenever you want to, Kat. Just as long as you take Sublocade, as long as you need to take it. So that's with any medication. So with any MAT medication, if you get on it and this is my suggestion, okay? If you get on Suboxone or Sublocade or methadone and you're taking it, my suggestion would be to make sure that you get a good, solid foundation in sobriety. Okay, make sure that you have sober support, okay, and also make sure that you are like doing something that's going to help you stay sober every day. Like, you can't just sit in your house and then take your medicine and expect for that to make you be sober. You guys know that there's a big difference between being sober and having recovery. Okay, recovery comes from the work that you do on the inside to become a better person. Okay, because when we were in active addiction, we were lying, we were cheating, we were stealing, we were manipulating. Okay, and so when we get sober, we're supposed to change those behaviors. But it's hard. It's hard. Do you guys know what happened to me when I first got sober? I loved to shoplift, honey. I just put a video up about that. I was a shoplifting motherfucking fool. Every time I'd walk into Dillard's, my fucking hands would be like, psh, 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 right? It took me 6 months to break that habit, okay? 6 months to break a habit of shoplifting because it had become a working part of my mind, all right? I was a professional. So it's the same thing with anything. You get on MAT, that's great. That's going to help you with your withdrawal and help you with your cravings, okay? But what else are you going to do? What else are you going to do to change your life? And there's a lot of people on this app, you guys, who are just on the medication. And they are still very, very sick. They're still struggling. They still, they just don't understand that there's more work to be done. I'll tell you this. Whenever I started doing my step work, and listen, you guys don't have to do the 12 steps. It's up to you. I did them because they helped me, okay? I love the 12 steps. I just don't like the fellowship of people. I like the steps because they helped me to learn how to reshape my life. It helped me learn how to take a look at myself and take a look at the negative things that I was doing, the people that I was hurting. It helped me to take responsibility for for the things that I was doing and the people that I was hurting. It helped me to be self-aware enough to see that I needed to make changes. It also helped me to be able to learn how to make amends, which is not just walking up to people and saying, I'm sorry. Okay, that's not what making amends is, okay? Making amends is not just saying, hey, I'm sorry that I stole from you 6 months ago, Making amends is like living and changing, okay? And so, for instance, making amends with my mother and father, okay? I could walk up to them and I could have wrote them a letter and told them how much I love them and apologized to them, right? And they would have been happy. They love me no matter what. But they've heard it time and time and time again. I'm sorry. I'm sober now. This is the time. I'm never going to relapse again. This is it. I'm changing my life so many times. So you know what I did? I started changing my life and living my recovery, and I showed them through my actions that I was a changed person. And that's how I've made amends to my family, along with sitting down with them and letting them know, how much I love them, and that, I know I can't make up for all the crazy shit that I did in active addiction, but I'm going to forever be trying to do that for the rest of my life, And one of a gift of being sober and being in recovery is the gift of self-awareness. Okay, when I was in active addiction, I was hella unself-aware. Okay, I didn't realize that I was hurting so many people. In my mind, I was just hurting me. Why are all these people freaking out? I'm not hurting them. I'm just getting myself fucked up. They're tripping. Why don't they want to? My friends fucking ditching me, telling me I'm a liability. They can't watch me kill myself anymore. My mom and dad flee to New York because they can't watch me kill myself anymore. Like everybody was just jumping ship. I'm like, what's the deal here? They're tripping, right? Because my head was so far up my ass, it was coming out of my mouth that I couldn't even see the pain and the agony that I was putting all my loved ones and friends through. Damn, dude, do you realize how much we hurt our families and our friends? I don't care who you are. If you say, no, I didn't hurt my family and my friends, you're wrong. You're wrong. If you were getting fucked up and you were in active addiction, anyone who loves and cares about you was dying inside. Okay? How do I know that? Because I love an addict. Because my husband's an addict. Okay? And I had never experienced what it was like to love somebody that struggled with addiction until my husband relapsed in 2020. And when that happened, that opened my eyes and it made me realize all the pain and agony that I put my family through. It's a different kind of situation whenever you experience it for yourself. Loving a drug addict is the hardest thing you will ever do in your whole entire life. It is such a roller coaster. I'll tell you this, even to this day, and my husband's fixing to celebrate 2 years sober for like the third time. Okay? Even though my husband's fixing to celebrate 2 years sober, do you know what? Every single day I worry. Every single day I look at my phone. Every single day I think, am I going to get that phone call? Is he going to show up? You know, and I worry and I worry and I worry. And it's like, I don't know how to not worry. You know, hey, Shay Shay, I don't know how to not worry. I'm trying to work on that, but it's really, really hard. You know, and I know a lot of you guys who have loved ones that struggle with addiction can relate, you know. Yes, Tiffany, my husband is on Suboxone. So for those of you guys that don't know, me and my husband are poly addicts, okay? Poly substance abuser, polypharmacy. We were addicted to multiple substances. So my drug of choice, my first drug of choice was methamphetamine. Then it went to then it's opiates, then it's benzos, then it's cocaine, right? My husband's main drug of choice was opiates, all right? Benzos, and then cocaine, crack cocaine, and then meth, okay? And so we were addicted to so many different substances that getting on subs isn't the cure. Yeah, I'm on Suboxone. It helps me. I don't crave opiates, but that don't mean it don't make me not. I still think about methamphetamine. I still think about Xanax bars. Shoot, one of the main things that I think about when I'm struggling is getting fucking bars, taking bars of Xanax and just like checking out of life. You know what I mean? That and speeding away. Speedy, speedy, be speedy. I love stimulants and I think about that. And so whenever I struggle, those are the things that I have cravings for. And that's the thing though. Suboxone's not a cure-all, you know? And that's why I try to explain to people. A lot of people will say to me, well, the only reason you're sober is because you're on Suboxone. Are you kidding me? Do you know the kind of dope addict I was? Honey, I was shooting everything that would go into my veins. Suboxone is not just the only thing that's holding me, all right? I was a straight up gutter junkie, okay? Suboxone is just taking the edge off. I had to do the work, okay? I had to get out there, go to therapy. Okay, I had to get out there and start working on the inside. I had to change my behaviors. I had to pay my fines. I had to make amends. I had to get a full-time job. I had to get my driver's license back. I had to buy myself a new car. I had to pay my rent. I had to do all that on my own. Me and my husband didn't have somebody that was like, hey, let us pay all this stuff for you. You know, let us just like pave the way for you. No. And also when I was getting sober, you guys, there wasn't a huge community of people online talking about it, you know? Yeah, I saw it. She already came on my video and commented about the CPS one. Is that what you're talking about, James? What is that? I just saw an ant, you guys, and y'all know how I feel about motherfucking ants. So, oh yeah, I saw it, honey. I saw it. When I saw her video about that, it caught me off guard because I was like, how is she turning my video talking about don't say shit into abuse? Because I wasn't talking about people that abuse their kids. So what she did was she took my video out of context and she only took that first clip and then, you know, said whatever, which, I mean, that's her right to do that. You know what I mean? Oh, you can do it. Get baked. It's okay. You can do it. Don't get discouraged. It's not, listen to me. It's not hard. It's not hard at all. All right. What it is it takes you making changes, and changes are uncomfortable, okay? That's the thing about it. The reason why we say it's hard is because we are used to being in our lives of addiction. So when we go to get sober, it feels like all brand new. It's like it's like culture shock, right? It's like being dunked under ice cold water at one time. You know what I mean? It's like, it's hard to make changes. I know, believe me, honey. I'm struggling trying to lose weight. And my fucking ass wants to go back to the other side and start stuffing my face. I've lost damn near 30 pounds. And I'm over here trying to stuff my face with chocolate and shit. Trying to relapse. So I understand. How do you feel about so many on this app pushing Matt? I absolutely love medication assisted treatment, and I think it is amazing, and I think more people need to know about it, because for the longest time, all that was pushed was 12-step. Since 1939, the only thing that was recommended or given to anybody was abstinence-based 12-step recovery. No other options were given to people. So guess what? Hundreds and thousands of people died because the only option that they were ever given was abstinence. And they were made to feel like I felt, like I was a failure. What's wrong with me? How come I'm not getting this? How come all these other people get it? I've done this, I've done that, I've done this, I've done that. I'm working my steps. I'm going to my meetings. I have a sponsor. I'm praying and meditating. I've had a spiritual awakening. I've done my steps 5 times through. Why am I broken? Right? And so now they're actually offering different forms of treatment. Wow. What an amazing concept, that people are not all the same and that people might need a different kind of treatment. Who would have thunk that? And I'm sorry, I don't mean to get on a tirade, but it's so funny to me because we're all on, how many of you guys that are in here are on medication for your mental health? Okay. I would fare to bet that half of the people in here are on mental health medication, and nobody has a problem with you being on your mental health medications. Okay. Nobody has a problem with that. Being on Suboxone is the same as being on a mental health medication. If I jumped off of Lexapro today, guess what would happen? I would go through withdrawal. I would be sick. Does that mean I'm addicted to my Lexapro? No, that's not what it means. And so people need to start thinking of this in a grander, opening their minds more, okay? Medication assisted treatment finally is coming to the forefront. For a long time, people that were on MAT were shamed and made to feel less than, and told that they couldn't be a part of the recovery community, told that they couldn't share at meetings, told that they couldn't even come to meetings. And now people are accepting it. You want to know why? It had to get to a point where people were losing their motherfucking lives. People were dying at an astronomical rate. And so now finally people are accepting this other form of treatment that's actually helping save people's lives. Wow. Damn, that's crazy, isn't it? No one pushes Matt. Okay, I've never been to a treatment program where they pushed MAT onto me. Okay, ever. At the program that I work at, if you come in, we're a Suboxone clinic. But if you come in, we always give you the option, do you want to do Vivitrol or do you want to do Suboxone? You know what I'm saying? Which one do you want to do? Because you came here for one of them, all right? And we don't push Suboxone on you at all. That's your decision to make. If somebody reaches out to me in my DMs and they say, Nicole, I want to get clean and sober and I'm a fentanyl addict, what do? Do you know what I do? I list out the options for them. I say, okay, number 1, detox and inpatient treatment. Number 2, outpatient treatment. Number 3, medication assisted treatment. Number 4, online treatment. Number 5, 12-step treatment. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I give them all those options and then they choose what they want to do, Abstinence for 5 weeks almost took my own life severely depressed. 8 milligrams of Suboxone made me feel normal. Absolutely. And see, that's another thing, that a lot of us are dual diagnosis. A lot of us have major underlying mental health issues, okay? Major. And so getting on medication assisted treatment for a lot of us helps with that also. Did you know that? Did you know that they're starting to notice that Suboxone helps people with depression? I'll give you an example. So I had tapered all the way down to 1/4 milligram of Suboxone, and I jumped off in January. And I was off of the medication for about 2 weeks, right? And I was doing great. Like, it wasn't that bad. I didn't feel the greatest, but I wasn't dying, But what was happening was I was severely depressed and I could not stop crying every single day. I couldn't get out of my bed. And so my doctor called me. He was like, "Well, you're on Wellbutrin, you're on Lexapro. What else can we do?" And I was like, "I don't know." And he was like, "Well, if I said to get back on a low dose of Suboxone, would you try it?" And I was like, "I'm willing to try anything." And so I got back on a low dose of Suboxone, less than a half a milligram. And do you know that it literally changed my life? It literally made me go from suicidal to feeling normal again. Like, some of us need medication, you guys, for the rest of our lives. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with needing to be on medication. There's also nothing wrong with being one of those people who's absolutely against being on medication. But that's for you. You know what I mean? What I do is I just share what helps me. And if that helps you, then I want you to feel comfortable, right? So I'm not ever trying to push what I believe in on anybody. I'm not ever trying to say, "Hey guys, you need to do this." What I'm just trying to do is share with you guys what I do. And then if you do what I do, or what I talk about makes you feel accepted and comfortable, then that you can be here with us. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not out here like, "Take MAT, take Suboxone, you have to, da 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 da." No. Okay, so you can go to any doctor now, I think. Well, no, you have to look it up. So go online and Google Suboxone doctors in your area, and it'll pull up a whole list. Jenny, girl, you ain't lying, okay? I talk about this all the time. And some people make me feel like I'm crazy when I talk about it. Because I talk about being sober for 7 years, but still feeling like I have no energy. Still feeling like I just crawled out of my mom's ass. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it sucks, dude. And then people make me feel bad. People from the 12-step program tell me, "Nicole, you shouldn't say that. You're going to scare people from wanting to get sober. You need to stay in the solution." And I'm like, so what am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to lie to people about how I'm feeling, right? I'm supposed to lie instead of telling people the truth of the matter of how I feel. Some girl reached out to me and she was like, "I've been sober for 5 years, Nicole. When does our brain heal? When does it get better?" Right? I'm not going to tell you that over these 7 years that my health and my brain hasn't improved, right? It's gotten better, It's gotten better than whenever I first started, but I'm not even close to being to where I was before I started using drugs. And I honestly don't know if I ever will be, and I've gotten to a point where I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. I'm okay if I have to take a fucking quarter of a milligram of Suboxone for the rest of my life. Low energy levels, and I'm just dealing with it. Yeah, I can still go the 420 route. See, Anthony, I tried to do medical marijuana, and that just like made me even more tired, even the kind that gives you energy. So when I sit down and I tell people about all the things that I've accomplished in my sobriety, I say, "Hey, what's up? My name's Nicole. I've been in recovery for 7 years. I was able to get custody of my son back. I was able to get a home, pay rent on time, buy myself a brand new car, buy my husband a brand new car, work a full-time job, take care of my son, get him into school, help other people, pay off my credit card debts, pay off all these things," right? And then at the end I say, "And I'm sober on Suboxone." So many people, when I made that video, don't understand the message of that video. The message of that video is, if I didn't tell you I was on Suboxone, you wouldn't motherfucking know. You wouldn't know. Okay? And that's what people in the 12-step program do. They take their medication and they don't tell you. Okay? They don't tell you that they're taking it. They take their Xanax and their Hydros or whatever they need to take, and as long as they're taking it as prescribed, then no, it's nobody's business. And so, if I didn't tell you, you wouldn't know. So I could walk around here and be like, They told me sub would be short term and it would be harder to get off of than hydros. So that's a huge misconception that a lot of people say. And there was a huge fight between me and Richie Weber last year because he was making videos about Suboxone being the worst withdrawal, right? You guys, listen to me when I tell you this. I tapered down all the way to 0.25. I had diarrhea. I felt I had cold chills and restless legs, but I wasn't like dying. Okay. There's another girl Nikki, who just got off. She's like 21 days off of subs. She's doing great. She's doing fine. The people who have these horrible withdrawals are people who jump off their medication without tapering. Straight up. Okay, they're the ones who take their recovery and their program into their own life and they jump off the medication without tapering with their doctor. And those are the people who talk the loudest about how Suboxone is so bad and it makes you sicker than anything. It's always the people who had a negative experience who bark the most. You know what I'm saying? And so that's why it's important for those of us who have had positive experiences to share our experiences, because people are getting misinformed, you know? How on God's green earth can we say every person needs to only be on Suboxone for 2 weeks and then they need to be tapered off, point blank, period, okay? How in the world can we throw out that blanket time for every single person? For a person who has they were taking 10 hydros a day. Then you have another person right here, they were shooting black tar heroin and fentanyl in their jugular vein. And then you have this person right here who was snorting Roxy's. All three of these are different severities of addiction, okay? And so you're going to tell me that the person who is slamming fentanyl in their jugular vein for 30 years only needs to be on Suboxone for 2 weeks and then tapered directly off. I mean, you can try that and let me know how it works out for you. Okay? You know, you can try that. And that's the thing. You can always try it. You can always try it. If you want to try to get on subs for a really short amount of time and then taper off really quickly, you could absolutely do that. Okay? Absolutely. What I have noticed, and this is from working in a MAP program, okay? I work at a doctor's office who is a Suboxone doctor, okay? What I have seen, the people that come in and they try to tell us, hey, I only want to be on Suboxone for 7 days and then I'm out of here, right? Those people who come in and they like tell us exactly how they're going to do it and they're adamant on getting off the medication as fast as they can, we won't hear from them for a month, maybe 2, and then we'll get the call. Hey, Nicole. Hey, what's up, man? I hadn't seen you in a while. You okay? Yeah, I relapsed. And I'm like, that's okay. That's okay. Hey, Rena, what's up, girl? Are you going to come back now and listen to our program and what we got to say? Yeah, I think I'm going to give it at least 6 months this time. And that's the thing, you guys. Like, honestly, I'm not asking for you to stay on subs for 7 years like I have, okay? It's worked for me, and that's why I've stayed on Suboxone for so long, because this is my mentality. Why am I going to fix something that's not broken, okay? I'm a chronic relapser. I'm a severe case of polypharmacy, addicted to multiple substances, okay? I was fucking bad off. And I also have severe mental illness, okay? And so being on MAT helps me to be regular. It helps me to be normal. It helps me to be like I am today. And you guys, I'm crazy. Y'all know how I am. But even today, this is normal. This is normal Nicole, right? This is healthy Nicole. This is the way I am, right? I'm very animated. I talk a lot. I'm very outgoing. I have a big opinion. And I tell my opinions, right? Nicole, thank you so much for your content. Oh, you're welcome, the Big Lebowski. I'm always here to help you if you need any help, okay? 9 years. Yeah, so I've been on them for 7 years. I take 20 per month, and it works. My life is very productive. Yeah. So, giving people like this little time, giving people the same amount of time. Also, for some people, that's daunting. Like, oh my gosh, I only have 2 weeks to get it together, and then I have to start doing this and that and that. It's like, this is what you should do, okay? If you decide to get on MAT, you get on the Suboxone, right? And you say to your doctor, okay, I'm making a commitment. I'm making a commitment to my recovery for at least 6 months, right? And you do the first 6 months. And then you meet with your doctor and y'all talk about it. How are you doing? Do you think you want to taper? Normally, what I see happens is people come in and they're at that 6 month mark and they're just starting to get their life together. They're just starting to get their jobs back. They're just starting to get their families back. They're just starting to feel okay, right? The first fucking 3 months, I felt like shit, as in my mind, right? I cried every single day the first year that I was on Suboxone because my son was in CPS custody. Okay, so every single day I cried my eyes out. Every single day before I would go to sleep, I would try to close my eyes and I would see my son every single night. There was no way that I could jump off Suboxone in that first year and be okay and get my son back, you know? So a lot of us have different circumstances, and that's what you also have to take into consideration, okay? That's what these people who try to tell you that you should be on subs for short term, they're not considering all the different things that come into play in a person's life. Okay, you could have one person, like I was telling you guys before, who abused hydrocodone for 2 years. You could have another person who has been on Oxycontin, hardcore pain addict, got addicted through pain management, hardcore though, taking 30, 40, 50 pills a day, and then you're a person who's shooting up, and all these people are in different areas, right? They all need to be treated differently for their addiction, because their addiction, even in that book, what's it called? The DSM-5. They list different severities of addiction. Mild, severe, whatever it is, you know? So how could you how could you help somebody who has had a 30-year addiction in just 2 weeks? Do you understand what I'm saying? And Suboxone is something that is there to help you. It's not there to make you stay sober, okay? It is not there to save you, all right? It's literally there to take the edge off so that way you can start being a productive member of society, right? So like when you're coming off of a bunch of drugs and you just go cold turkey, believe me, I know what it feels like because I've done it many, many times, all right? It's like, especially with like benzos and opiates, I don't know what it is, but the post-acute withdrawal, the withdrawal after the withdrawal is like horrible. I was in withdrawal after the withdrawal for 8 months, dude. I had burning skin, diarrhea, cramps in my stomach, brain fog. I would get these little light things that would flash in my eyes when I would blink them. And I was like, it felt horrible, dude. I felt like I was fucking gonna have a fucking seizure or some shit. You know, I couldn't go through that again. And I went straight sober whenever I went into treatment this last time. I came out of treatment and I had been off of all drugs. You know, I had been off of everything when I got onto Suboxone. But I had to do something different, okay? I had been trying to do the will of abstinence 12-step for so many years. And my doctor finally looked at me and he said, okay, I want you to share with me what has happened each time you've gone to treatment. Okay, and let me tell y'all something. Every time I ever went to treatment, when I went to treatment, I wanted to get sober. Okay, every time I've ever went to treatment, I've been desperate. Okay, that's the only reason why I would go to treatment is if I was desperate, right? And so every time I've gone in and I've put my all into it. I listened to my counselors. I did all my homework. I got a sponsor just like they did. They told me to do right away. I got a sponsor before I left the building, right? Because that's what they told me to do. They said, you don't need to leave this treatment center until you have a sponsor and at least 10 people's phone numbers. And I did that every single time. And I worked the steps every single time. And I went to meetings and I chaired meetings and I went to badass conventions and I had the greatest time, right? I had a great time. But every time around the 6 to 9 month mark, I don't know if it's something in my brain or what, I would relapse. Man. a lot of it was because of I still had this really hard time with wanting to be accepted by everybody. So I kept people in my life that were still getting high. And I shouldn't have, right? But I couldn't have known that. I couldn't see that because I wasn't self-aware. Okay? I couldn't understand that that's what was going on until now, after I've been sober for 7 years and self-aware enough to know that. Okay? Like all the things that I'm telling you guys now, I learned in the 7 years that I've been sober this time. Okay? Because I'm like outside of my body looking at myself. You know what I mean? So anyway, if I could go in front of every government agency, every state place, whatever I could, and sit there and talk to them about Suboxone, I would sit there and talk to everybody about it. I would try to educate as many people as I can about it, because I truly believe that, it's unfair to expect all people to utilize abstinence, especially 12-step abstinence, because as much as people say that the program isn't religious, they talk about God a lot in 12 steps. They say the fucking Lord's Prayer at the meetings, for God's sakes. Okay? What about people whose beliefs don't align with that? What about those people? How do they feel? How do they get sober? And so just now, hey y'all, what's up everybody? Hey Cassandra. They have just now started being like really accepting of medication assisted treatment. Do you guys realize that? Do you realize, hey Tiffany, do you realize that like in 2016, when I first started sharing my story about being on MAT, people made fun of me, dude. People told me that I wasn't in recovery and that I didn't deserve to share my story. And I'm like, what? Do you know that I literally came out of the gutter? I came out of the fucking abyss over there, dude. I was like fucking an alien and shit. That's how fucked up I was all the time. I was that person who was walking down the road, you guys, swatting at flies and talking to people that weren't there. Like, for real. Okay? And I've accomplished so much in the 7 years that I've been sober. Like, to me, I'm sober as a judge, dude. I'm sober as fuck, okay? Like, I'm not shooting dope. I'm not drinking alcohol. I'm not smoking. I'm not even smoking cigarettes, dude. I'm not dropping acid. I'm not fucking eating ecstasy. I'm not doing cocaine. Like, I'm not getting a euphoria from my medication, and that's why I try to explain to people that being on MAT is like being on a mental health medication. For somebody like me who is a hardcore opiate addict, that's how the medication works for me. It's like part of my mental health regimen. Some people say, well, I know people that get high on subs. I know people that get high on methadone. Listen to me, okay? There are always going to be people who don't have good intentions, all right? And they use the medication for the bad, okay? But you got to even look at those people from this point of view. At least they're on subs, at least they're on methadone, and that's a step in the right direction, okay? So they're abusing their shit. Maybe them being in the program long enough, maybe they'll say, you know what? I'm tired of fucking abusing my fucking shit. I'm tired of selling my subs. I want to fucking get straight, dude. I want to do it. I want to do recovery. And that's what the whole purpose of people getting on MAT is. Because some people, when they get on it, they're not ready to be sober. They're not ready to change their lives, right? But getting on the medication, Janine, hey girl, being around people that are in recovery and seeing people that are changing their lives, then that makes you want to make a change, and it rubs off on you a little bit. And that's the whole deal about being on MAT. So if so-and-so's abusing their subs, so fucking what? Guess what? That ain't me, honey. That ain't me. And here's the thing. It's all about your intention. Okay? What is your motives behind what you're doing? Is your intent behind getting on Suboxone to be fucked up? To override the system and get over on everybody? Then guess what's going to happen? That's what you're going to do. If your intentions are to get on methadone and play your doctor and have him prescribe you 200 milligrams with a side of Xanax, then that's what you're going to do. You're going to continue to get what you've always gotten if you do the same shit. If you go into MAT thinking I'm going to lie, cheat, and steal and manipulate, then you're going to get the same shit you got when you were in active addiction, lie, cheating, and manipulating. You know? If you go into getting on MAT with the goal of changing your life, being a better person, maintaining your sobriety, then you're going to go into it and you're going to make that happen, you know? And here's the thing, you guys, you might get on the medication and you might be, your intentions might be pure. You get on the medication and you're doing good, right? And then maybe 6 months down the line, you start falling back a little bit, right? You start thinking about, well, maybe I don't want to be sober anymore. Maybe I do want to get high still, right? This is another reason why medication-assisted treatment is so amazing. Because you want to go out there and get you some fentanyl? Go ahead, honey. Go ahead, get you whatever you want to get. That Suboxone is going to help to where you don't feel that as much as you normally would, right? And it's going to help block that off. What I've heard is that it's not blocking that new fentanyl, but I heard that it doesn't block it all the way, but it blocks it enough to where you don't get the same effect. But that's the whole thing, though. Getting on it, that's a form of harm reduction for a lot of people, you know? And so my motive behind getting on MAT, you guys, was I had tried everything. I had tried everything for so many years. And I had been in and out of Alcoholics Anonymous, you guys, for so many years. Doing the program, working the steps, calling my sponsor, doing everything that I was supposed to do. You know, and I finally had to do something different. And the reason why I did was because my husband did. My husband got on Suboxone and he was like, listen, I got on Suboxone, Nicole. I'm not having any cravings. I'm doing well. And he sat me down. He said, I know you're going to be mad, but my husband was one of like the first people to start subs back in the early 2000s when they started prescribing them for addiction here in Arkansas. And he was like, the last time I got on subs, I was able to stay sober. He was like, I was able to stay away from crack, methamphetamine, cocaine, everything, opiates, and it helped me. And when he sat me down and he told me that it helped him and that he was serious about it and that this was going to help him to where we could get our son back, that made me think, okay, well, I'll give it a try. You know, and I was against it. Do you know why I was against it? Because people taught me that abstinence was the only way. AA taught me that if you were on anything else, then you were not sober. Okay? There was even people in my sponsorship family who would tell you that if you were on psych meds, you needed to get rid of them. Okay? Do you know that people commit suicide doing that? And so I got on MAT because I wanted to be able to maintain sobriety and I wanted to get my son back. And I got on MAT and I started working my motherfucking ass off. Okay? I didn't just get on Suboxone and lay back and be like, no, I got on Suboxone and I got enrolled in therapy. I had a counselor at the MAT program and then I got a motherfucking therapist. Okay. Then on top of that, I was going to Alcoholics Anonymous and got a sponsor through Alcoholics Anonymous and was working the 12 steps on top of that. Okay. On top of that, I created my own recovery group, Real Talk Recovery, and started doing live stream meetings every single night on YouTube. On top of that, I created my own women's group where every morning we would do meditation together. So I was literally like surrounded by recovery. Recovery had become my life, you know, and that I worked really, really hard. Okay. I have not gone to college. I didn't go to college to learn about addiction. I'm not a counselor or a therapist or any of that. Everything that I've learned has been because I have studied and I have listened and I have asked questions and I have learned from other people, and I've learned from Dr. B, and I've learned from my counselor and my therapist. You know what I'm saying? There should be Medicaid doctors, Carly Ann, who in your state, all you got to do is Google Suboxone doctors that take Medicaid. Or you can call your Medicaid place in the morning. Hey, Tink, what's up, girl? You can call your Medicaid place in the morning and say, hey, I need a list of providers that provide medication-assisted treatment, Suboxone treatment. In a perfect world, you guys, in a perfect world, we would all be able to get sober without any kind of medication, okay? In a perfect world, I would be able to walk off of drugs and never want them again, right? But the world's not perfect, okay? Utilizing a medication to help you in your recovery, there's nothing wrong with that. And I will fucking go down and I will go down in my grave talking about it and helping people who feel like they are less than, feel like, feel accepted. Because I know what it feels like. I remember how it felt whenever people turned their backs on me because I was on Suboxone. And these are people that I looked up to in the recovery community. People that have been sober for 20 years, But then what that made me realize was I don't want the kind of recovery that causes me to look down on my brother or sister because they're recovering a different way than me. I don't want the kind of recovery that my ego is so big that I think that it's my fucking place to tell somebody what medications they should be on. Okay? It was like, I saw some guy, he was like, they're giving MAT to everybody. They're giving Suboxone to everybody. Well, listen, you motherfucking dumbass. All these kids are on fentanyl and carfentanil, okay? 10 years ago, people weren't on heroin and carfentanil, right? 12, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, that wasn't the problem, right? And so this is the problem. Opioids are the problem, right? And so, of course, we have to use a different thing to combat that than what we used in the past, right? In the past, it was crack cocaine, okay? And I'm so confident that I know that they're going to create a medication for us meth addicts too one day. One day there's going to be a medication that people who are addicted to meth can get on for MAT treatment. I know it. Now, I do know that they say Wellbutrin and naltrexone. Y'all, I'm on Wellbutrin. It has not, I don't think it helps at all with my meth cravings. But, who am I? I am waiting for the day that they do that, So anyway, I guess I'll get off my high horse for a little bit here. I just get really, really passionate, you guys. Oh no, this is labradorite. See? This cost me a pretty penny for that big ass stone. And then this is my wedding ring. My husband proposed to me in 2015 whenever I got out of treatment. My husband came to pick me up. Hey, Lady Joker, what's up, Michelle? My husband came to pick me up from an AA meeting. I was at an AA meeting. And I got in his truck, and he said, open the sunroof for me. And I was like, okay. And so I opened the sunroof, and this little string dropped down, and there was a ring on it. And he said, will you marry me? And I was like, you already know, motherfucker. You already know. And then we got married in 2019, February 20th of 2019. But we've been together for 10 years. Oh, good job, girl. I'm glad you got moved. Good job, Michelle. I'm proud of you, girl. 8 days is amazing. So, yeah, me and my husband, we actually met each other in active addiction. A lot of people ask me that. So I was in active addiction from the time I was 17 years old till the time I was like 31 and a half, 32. And I met my husband September 15th of 2012. Okay. Now let me tell you about September 15th of 2012. I had just lost my car, right? I had just had my car impounded. Yeah, I got off of them for about 2 weeks, and then I went back on a quarter of a milligram for depression. What was I saying? Oh, yeah. I had just had my car impounded. So this car, you guys, I had literally had this car since 2000. I bought this car brand new. It had 5 miles on it. Okay. It was a navy blue Ford Focus. Okay. Brand new, 5 miles on it. It was a 2001 Ford Focus. I bought that car, and I had that car from that time in 2000 until 2012. It went through my whole addiction with me, honey. My whole addiction. And so in 2012, me and my friend Gerald were shooting up in the car wash little thingy, you know? And so when we got done, I pulled out, and I had put my syringe in the little door right beside me. And as I pulled out, we were driving. Well, I had expired tags, and a cop got behind me, and all of a sudden the lights, pew, 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 right? Well, Jared starts fidgeting, and he throws a bottle of Xanax underneath his passenger seat. And I grab my syringe real fucking slick, like barely moving, and I pop it in my punani, right? And I pull over, and I'm like, yes, ma'am. And she's like, first of all, I saw you moving around. And so she makes him get out of the car. She looks underneath his seat, and she finds the Xanax bottle. So she immediately arrests him. She has me get out. She pats me down, checks me, and I don't have anything on me. And so I'm going to get back in my car because I'm thinking she's going to let me go, right? She goes, oh, no, ma'am. You can go, but your car is not going with you. I've had this car for 12 years. Are you fucking kidding me? She wasn't fucking kidding me. She took my car and impounded it, you guys. And I sat there on the side of the road with this damn syringe up in my punani, right? So I called Mr. Lawrence. Now, I lived with Mr. Lawrence for like a year. And I called Mr. Lawrence. He was an old school pimp, right? He's like 67, 70 years old. He would wear 3-piece suits, alligator shoes, and a little fedora. And I lived with him because he had Hydros and Roxys and Somas and all that. And I paid him rent to live in his spare bedroom because he lived right by my job. And so I called him, and I was like, you've got to come get me. My car just got impounded, right? And so I get on the phone, and I call my mom and dad, and I'm like, please help me get my car out of impound. And my mom and dad were like, no. Mom, Dad, you know that's all I've got is my car. Please. And my parents had moved to New York because they were done. They were done watching me kill myself. My dad almost had a heart attack. He was so depressed about it. So they left. They left and moved to New York. And so they're like, no, we're not helping you get your car out, Nicole. Bottom line, don't ask again. So I was like, I can't just let my car go and be gone. Like, I'm not going to just lose out on that fucking money. And so you know what I did? I put my fucking car for sale on the Facebook Marketplace. And a lady hit me up, and she's like, I'll buy your car. And I was like, well, there's one catch. It's an impound. And she was like, that's okay. I'll pay the impound fee, and then whatever that is, minus that, you'll get the rest, right? Because I was selling it for $3,000. And so I was like, bet. And so she picked me up. We drove to Hot Springs. We got my fucking title from my parents, went to the fucking impound, got the car. She paid for it, and I got like $2,500. And that was bada bing, bada boom. And so I had moved out of Mr. Lawrence's house into this house with this girl named Kaylee and her boyfriend Hunter. And I was sleeping on their couch because they had agreed to take me back and forth to work every day. And Mr. Lawrence, I was like, he had a girlfriend, and she was pregnant. It was not a good living situation. I need to get out of there. So I moved in with Kaylee and Hunter, and that's when I met my husband. So I had been living with them for like maybe a month, right? And I told Kaylee one night, I was like, we're having a fucking party, and I'm inviting some fucking guys. You know, I was like, I'm inviting guys. We're going to have a good time. I just want to have a good time, right? So I invited some guys. I got us some meth, and we got high, right? And the guys that I invited was this guy named Casey Brigden. And Casey brought this guy named Corey and Neil. So me and Casey had like this past, right? Like we would always hook up. right? And so he came over with the intentions of thinking that I was going to be hooking up with him, right? Well, then I saw Neil and I was like, something about my husband was just like fresh and kind and loving and understanding, right? And so he was sitting on the corner of the couch, which was my bed, because I slept in the living room. And I said to him, I was like, I really like your vibe. Like, I feel like you're, you know, super sweet, like outgoing, like me. We were chatting a lot, you know. And he was like, well, do you want to go with us tonight? And I was like, sure. And so I left with Neil and Casey, and we went and got a hotel room. And you guys, when I tell you, we got a hotel room with 2 beds, right? Here's me laying across the bottom of the bed facing this way, and here's Neil laying across the bottom of this bed facing this way. And we laid there on those beds, and we talked to each other all night long. We talked about how many kids we wanted to have, if we wanted to become married, what kind of person we liked to date, what our parents did for a living, how long they had been married, talked about our high school days. We talked about how we got into using drugs. We just talked about everything, right? And so by the time I looked up, it was the next morning, and he took me back to my apartment, right? Hey, Jamie, congrats on 1 year, girl. That's awesome. Proud of you, girl. You made it. So he took me back to my apartment and dropped me off, and I gave him my phone number, and I thought he'll never call me because he was a guy that I felt like was out of my league. But actually, we were equally yoked. We both came from families where our parents were still married, so we came from good upbringings. We both he actually went to college and got his master's degree. I went to college for a couple of years, but I didn't get no master's degree. We were both pretty intelligent, you know, we got along really good. But we were equally yoked, as in, like, I used to date this guy named LD, and he used to beat my ass every single day, and he came from a broken family, and just, we were not equal. So I gave him my number, and I thought, oh gosh, I'll never be good enough for him. You know what I mean? Well, he called me 2 days later, and he said, do you want to get another hotel room? And I was like, what kind of girl do you think I am? I'm not getting a hotel room with you again. And he was like, no, I didn't mean it like that. I just know that, you know, the couch is your bedroom. And I was like, yeah. He's like, well, do you want to do something? And I was like, yeah. And I said, but I'm babysitting Crooklyn, which is my friend's daughter, Brooklyn. We called her Crooklyn because she was bad as hell. Okay. And I was like, I'm babysitting Crooklyn. Can I bring her? And he was like, yeah, we'll go to the park or something. And I was like, okay. So he came and picked us up, and we went to the park, and we were walking and everything. And I'll never forget it, you guys. I had on this flower crop top with a pair of really cute jeans and a pair of Birkenstock sandals. My hair was down like it is now, only it was like super wavy, beachy waves. And I had like a little bit of blonde going through it still. And I was like, we're walking, and he put his arm around me, you know, and I remember you know, with that feeling you get in your stomach where it kind of like drops and you're like, and it feels like good, you know what I mean? And I was like, oh my God, I really like this guy. And I've only known him for like 2 days, you know? Well, he stayed the night with me that night, and he started staying the night with me every single night, right? I would probably say for like a week or so, he stayed the night, and we would just cuddle and kiss and you know, that kind of stuff. And then I remember when we had sex for the first time, and it was just, I felt like I fell in love with him. I was in love with this guy, and I just got to know him, you know? And so I remember after we had sex for the first time, the next day he had come over, we were hanging out, and I told him that I needed him to go home, and I didn't want him to come over until the next morning because I needed space, right? Oh my God. Neil was a fucking stage 5 clinger, y'all. He was like, what do you mean you need space? You don't want me to be around you? And I was like, man, you just don't understand. I just need one night of space. I've got to take care of some things. Y'all, I had a whole fucking Rolodex of dudes that I was fucking, okay? Like when I was in active addiction, after I got out of that relationship with LD, because he used to bounce my fucking head off the concrete, I became a player, right? I became I decided I was going to do what dudes do, and I was going to get what I wanted and then keep it moving, right? And so I just had all kinds of dudes that I could just pop over to their house and and they'd pop over to my house and just all that kind of stuff, right? There was no relationship. And so I needed to call all these men and say, don't ever fucking call me again. I found somebody that I'm in love with and it's serious, you know? And Neil was like really upset. He thought I was trying to ditch him. Well, he left and he went home, and I got on the phone and I called all these guys, and all these guys knew that I would eventually find somebody that I loved. You know what I mean? It wasn't like we were in love with each other. We were just hooking up. And so I called every guy, and they were like, congratulations, we understand, Nicole, go for it, Nicole, we're rooting for you, okay? And so all of a sudden there's a knock on the door, and it's midnight, right? And I'm like, what the fuck, who is at the house? And so I look out the peephole, and guess who it is? Neil with his little black and white terrier, Jetta. And he brought pizza over. And I was like, I told you not to come over. I told you I needed space. And I got upset with him because I felt like he wasn't respecting my boundaries, you know? So I sent his ass on his way. The next morning when I woke up, there was a dozen roses on the doorstep and a letter apologizing to me for coming over anyway. And of course, you know me, I called him right up and I was like, get your ass over here, you know? And he came over, and I told him the reason why I sent you on is because I needed to call these people and tell them that I didn't want to talk to them anymore, that I felt like I was really, you know, that this was really serious, and I didn't want to fuck up my chances of being with you, you know? And so I think that me and Neil just really realized that we both we were a lot alike, and we loved each other. We loved each other. We wanted to be loved, and we were both struggling in active addiction. You know, my husband, then he opened up to me about being on methadone, and he had been on it for like a couple of years, but he was on an extremely high dose of methadone, and he was getting like 365 methadone pills a month. And so he started telling me about that, and then he started sharing them with me, right? And he was sharing them with me thinking, well, she'll get on methadone and that will help her stay sober. Well, it was opposite for me. When I take methadone, I don't sober up. I don't do good at all on methadone. And I just was taking more and more and more and more and more. And so at the beginning of my relationship, my husband got to see how bad I was in active addiction. Like, you guys, when I tell you, bad. My hair started falling out right here. I had a huge ass bald spot. I thought Neil had shaved my head one night, and he was like, I would never do that. My hair fell out because I was so malnourished, and I had so much stress on my body from not taking care of myself and just doing all these drugs. And, you know, he took me to meet his parents, and I'll never forget it. He took me to meet his parents, and we went to eat at El Portone, which is now my favorite Mexican restaurant. We went to eat at El Portone, and I remember his mom was super sweet, but his dad was like, what are your intentions with my son? And I started crying, dude, because I was like scared. What do you mean? I'm not doing anything wrong. Well, I didn't know that Neil had been married in the past, and the girl that he was married to cheated on him with his best friend. And so Neil had really gotten burned. And then on top of that, she like left him with all this credit card debt and all this shit. So when I met him, he was a couple years out of that, but he was still trying to like repair his life, you know, like get his credit back. And he was living with his mom and dad. Like, he took a big hit. And so I didn't realize that, you know, and then Neil had told me about it, and then I understood why his dad was so protective. But me and his dad, after that, we got along so good, because his dad realized, like, I loved his son so much, and he would always tell me, you know, Neil loves you so much, Nicole. Like, he would always tell me how much Neil loved me, and I would tell him that I love Neil just as much as he loves me, you know. But his mom didn't like me that much. His mom... Oh, hey, Carly-Ann, do you see the little star, you guys? Either it's a gold star up here, or it's right down here where you can comment. You just press that if you want to subscribe to my lives, and it's $5.99. And it's just if you want to support me, you don't have to. So his mom did not like me. Okay, like his mom still doesn't like me, I don't think, but we just fucking make it work. I don't think that she thought, I think that she felt like I was not good enough for her son, which is so strange to me because it's almost like she acted like I made him get on drugs. But when I met him, he was shooting meth and smoking crack and eating bars of Xanax. You know what I'm saying? And he was on methadone. And so his family is not like my family. His family has always been in denial about his addiction. And my mom and dad are like, our daughter's a drug addict and she needs to get her fucking mind right, right? And so you put me, somebody who has, my parents kicked me out. They did not enable me. They held me accountable. And then you put me with Neil, whose parents have always saved him. Basically, they have hindered him because every time things get bad, they come in and rescue him. Okay? So you put the two of us together and we were like fire and gasoline because when we got together, our addictions just went poof, and we just started getting high as hell together. But we didn't want to keep doing this. Like I remember there's a point around 2013 where we were both crying because we were miserable. We didn't want to keep going on like this. We didn't want to keep disappointing our families. We didn't want to keep hurting each other. Like every time my husband would overdose and he would do it in front of me and I would get so scared and he fucking had seizures in front of me, like serious shit, you guys. And I was scared to death. And so we would fight a lot, especially when we were doing methamphetamine. We would fight back and forth about who was doing the most or who got this or good. And it's just stupid stuff, stupid stuff that you fight about when you're using drugs. And we didn't want to live our lives like that anymore, But we also didn't know how to stop. We would go to Celebrate Recovery and we would stop for like a week or so, but then we would relapse because one of us would always co-sign the other one. Do you know what I'm saying? And then I got pregnant. And when I got pregnant, I didn't even know I was pregnant. My father-in-law actually came downstairs in this kitchen right here. And he was like, "You're pregnant." And I was like, "No, I'm not." And you guys got to understand, I was skinny, like 120 pounds. Very, very thin. Okay. And that's very, very thin for me. My normal, like healthy weight is about 155, 160. And so I was very, very thin, like sunk in, black circles under my eyes, all that. And he was like, "You're pregnant." And I was like, "No, I'm not." He's like, "Yep, you're pregnant." And I was like, whatever. Well, a week later, I went and got a pregnancy test. And guess what? I was fucking pregnant. I was pregnant. So I called Neil, or I went, "Neil, come here." And I showed him, I was like, "I'm pregnant." And here's the thing, you guys, like, I really didn't think that I didn't think I could get pregnant. Because when I was younger, I had an abortion. I was 23, I think, and I had an abortion. I was in that abusive relationship. And at the time, I was addicted to those 40 milligram methadone wafers. And so I had an abortion. I'm not proud of it, but I did. And so ever since then, I had never, ever even had pregnancy scares. And so when I found out I was pregnant, I was shocked. I couldn't believe it, dude. And so we sat down with his mom and dad, and I was like, "I understand if you guys don't want me to be a part of your family. I understand if you don't want me to, I didn't want to have an abortion, though, and I knew I wasn't going to do that." And they were like, "No, we're going to support you. We're going to support you, and you and Neil are going to move in here, and we're going to help you guys. We're going to help you guys get healthy, and you're going to have this baby, and y'all are going to get y'all's lives together, and we're going to be here to support you the whole step of the way." And I called my mom and dad, and my mom was so excited. My mom was so excited. She was like, "Oh my gosh, I hope you have a girl." And my mom started buying all these pink things, right? So I knew that I had to get sober. I knew I had to stop. And so I managed to stop. I just stopped. I just stopped benzos. I stopped opiates. I stopped meth. I stopped everything. Everything. Right? And for like a week or so, I was completely 100% sober. Well, you know what happened. I was not feeling well. I felt like shit. And I ended up relapsing on methamphetamine. And I was adamant on not using opiates and benzos while I was pregnant, because I had always been told that benzos cause your child to have a cleft lip, and opiates become dependent to them. So in my drug addict mind, methamphetamine was the lesser of the evils, you know what I mean? But still makes no excuse. And I still didn't want to be doing that, you know, but I relapsed on meth, and then I would get sober, and then I was like, I need to do something. I'm going to get a job. I'm going to get a job. I'll work until I'm like 6 or 8 months pregnant, and that will help me to stay busy and to not think about wanting to get high, you know. And Neil was working, and so I would work too. So I got a job car hopping at Sonic, and you guys should see me. I was when I got to about 6 or 7 months is when I really started to show. Other than that, you couldn't really tell. And I was walking around car hopping, and I was making me some good money, but I kept relapsing back on the methamphetamine. You know, I would do good, and then I would have these binges. And so I would go, I was getting prenatal care. I was seeing a doctor. They were taking my pee. They were taking my blood, everything. But the thing about it is, like I said, I would get sober for a little bit. So when I would go to see the doctor, I would be sober. And so there was no problems. Nobody was saying anything. Nobody was worried about me being on drugs, you know? But I couldn't control myself, because if I could, I would have been sober when I gave birth to my son, because I knew that my son was coming on the first week of July. I knew the first week of July was my due date, sometime in there. And I couldn't stop. I couldn't stay away from meth long enough to fucking have my son sober. And I'm going to tell you something right now. I am not proud of that. I live with the guilt and the shame every single day. I share about it because I want to help other women who are pregnant also and addicted. And I know a lot of you guys might not want to believe it, but there are a lot of pregnant women who are using drugs. There are a lot of pregnant women who are using drugs who are afraid to get help, because they think if they do, then their kids will get taken away from them by CPS. Okay? So what I do is I relive this traumatic event in my life every single day, because I want to help other people not go through this shit I went through. I don't want people to have to remember the day that they gave birth to their child as them being high on meth. I didn't even get to enjoy my fucking pregnancy or giving birth to my son. You know, most people have pictures and scrapbooks. I don't have any of that. I don't have any of that. But you know what? Most of all, I put my child in danger. I hurt my son. God protected me. God protected my son from me. Okay? Like, that's fucked up. That's fucked up to have to say it. But God protected my son from me. And he did something. He wrapped himself around my son in my belly, and he protected my son from me. And when I gave birth to my son, he was perfect, 100% healthy as a motherfucking ox. He had amazing APGAR scores. He was extremely healthy, happy, well-adjusted, latched on right away, not crying, not having any fits, just a normal little baby. No coughing or anything like that. Like, it was amazing how calm and how good he was, because I was worried about it all the time. All I thought about was, like, I fucked up my kid, you know, and I couldn't even fucking stay away from drugs long enough to fucking have a baby sober, you know. I'll never forgive myself, you know. I'll never forgive myself. I don't care what anybody says. And that's why it's so hard for me when people come on and they comment shit to me, because I am so remorseful. I have so much remorse for what I did. I feel so much shame and guilt for what I did. That's why I try so hard to help other people. That's why I try so hard to give back and constantly helping other people. Sometimes it hurts me because I'm helping so many other people. I'm not focusing on myself. But I feel like I have to do that. I have to help other people to make up for what I did, you know? So, Nathaniel was perfect when he was born, and he's so smart, you guys. He was very healthy. Like I said, he didn't cry a lot. Like, he slept very well. Now, I'll tell you one thing. My baby slept with me. He slept right here on my chest all the time. We were like two peas in a pod, connected to each other forever. And that little boy, he's still like that. He is still like that with me and his dad. He wants to be right with us all the time. You know what I mean? So, I sobered up. I remember I was in the hospital, and I remember in my mind I said, I am never going to get high again. Like, God, please, you got to help me. And at this time, you guys, I was smart enough to know that I needed to get some kind of support. I needed to get like a counselor or a therapist or some kind of support system, right? But for me, I was living here in Little Rock, which is away from my family. I have a newborn baby. And so what I did was I thought, you know what? I'm going to stay sober. I'll take care of my son. I'll be at this house. I'll be, like, I can't get high. I'm here at the house all the time, right? I didn't have no car, and my husband was at work all the time. And my mother and father-in-law were here, so they were helping me. And my mom came down from New York, and she was helping me. And so I for the first 90 days, I stayed straight. I didn't take nothing. I was straight as a board. But then I fucking slipped, dude. I remember it like it was yesterday. Z, that was my drug dealer. Z called me, and he was like, hey, I got some bars. And that's all it took was, hey, I got some bars. And I was like, okay, bring me one. You know what I mean? And when I took that bar, it was like it oiled me up. It greased me up. It loosened me up. And then I was off to the races, and I was back on the fucking syringe, back on methamphetamine, back on oxys. And then my husband relapsed with me. And this is why I try to explain to people why I'm so mad at CPS, because we lived with my mother and father-in-law. So when I tell you that I was using drugs, when I would use drugs, like if we went somewhere to go get them, I would leave my child with my mother and father-in-law. Okay? If for some reason I was extra tired or I wasn't feeling good, my mother-in-law would always have my son, I'll rock him to sleep. I'll do this. I'll do that. She was right there, and she had just retired. So she was home all the time. And so I want people to understand that, like, I wasn't leaving my baby unattended. I wasn't harming him. Sure, I was under the influence and I shouldn't have been, but I would have never, ever, ever hurt my son. Like, even though I was under the influence and doing things I shouldn't have done, I would never, ever take him to the dope house with me. I would never, cook him in the oven or do this crazy shit that people do when they're high on stuff like that. I would never do that, I had mother and father-in-law here. And so after a year of doing that, my friend that I used to get high with, Tara, we got high together. She smoked crack and shot meth, and I would do it with her, and she had a little girl. She got mad at me one night because she owed me money, and I collected it from her old man. And she got mad at me, and she called CPS out of spite. Out of spite. Okay, and she told me, I'm calling CPS on you, bitch. And I was like, no, she's not. Fucking surely she's not, right? Well, she did. And they came to my house like 3 or 4 times, right? And then finally I got their message and I called them. And this is what I was trying to explain to you guys about not talking to CPS. I called them and I volunteered all this information, and I shouldn't have, because I didn't owe them shit, okay? I should have gotten a lawyer and zipped my motherfucking lips, okay? CPS took everything that I said and used it to build a case against me. They never gave me and my husband a chance. They drug tested us one time and then came back the next day and took my son. All right? normally what they would do and what they were supposed to do was they were going to put a protection plan in place. As long as I went to treatment, my son would stay in the home with family. I would go to treatment, and get help, and then I could come back, have my baby, go to parenting classes, and, still submit to UAs and do all that kind of stuff. But instead, because I couldn't get into the treatment center they wanted me to because I had insurance. This treatment center only took people on Medicaid. Because I couldn't get in because I had regular insurance, they said, never mind, we're going to come and take your son. And then they built the case on me saying, because of Neil and Nicole's continued drug use, you just met us. We only failed one drug test. How can that be continued drug use? Because Nicole has been to multiple treatment centers and struggled with addiction since she was 7. Guess who told him that? Me. So all the things that I told them were what they used against me to take my son from me. That's why I came on the other day and I said, if CPS comes to your home, no matter what, if you're in the wrong or not, you don't have to tell them anything, and you can get a lawyer and they need to come back with a warrant. Okay? And that's just to protect yourself. Now, my father-in-law was with me, and he kept telling me, Nicole, be quiet. Nicole, be quiet. But I didn't realize, you know what? I thought they were there to help me. No, they're against me. They're there for my son. They're not there for you, okay? And that's what I didn't realize. I thought, oh, they're going to help me. I'm going to get sober and, all this stuff. No, yes, I got him back. It took me 10 months to get my son back. Like, I wasn't playing, okay? The minute they took my son, I went to detox. I went into detox, and I went into residential care. Then I got out of treatment, came home. I got a sponsor, started working the steps, got a job. My husband was working, all that. We got our asses in gear, and we got our son back in like fucking less than a year, which was literally the shortest time, But my child should have never been taken. He should have been placed with his with family members. And we tried to get my son placed with family members, but they denied them. They told me my mother and father-in-law were too old. And then what about my sisters? What about my mom and dad? You know what I mean? All these different people they wanted to take my son because he was a white baby. Okay? He was a white baby. He was less than 1 year old. They can put him in foster care, and they could make money off of him. And that's why they took my son. I truly 100% believe that. Because when they came to my home, all the things that the girl said I had been doing, that my son was underweight, that he had bruises and shit all over him, none of it was true. None of it checked out. The only thing that checked out was that I failed for opiates and benzos, and my husband failed for opiates. That's it. We weren't given a chance to even try to sober up immediately. And you all know that's wrong. That's not how it... Usually CPS, in most cases, they'll give you a chance. They'll say, okay, you need to get sober. You need to do this. Your child can go with your mother or your grandma or whatever. But instead, they yanked my poor little baby under 1 year old and put him in a respite home. Because when they took my son, they had nowhere for him to go. That's how fucked up CPS is. And they put him in some respite home with a bunch of other babies. And the first time I got to see him, he had all these dots all over him, all these red dots. And I was like, what the fuck is wrong with my son? Take me to the emergency room now. And my baby had hand, foot, and mouth disease. Fucking running a fever and everything. And nobody was the wiser. Nobody even said anything about it. I'm telling you guys, that's why I tell you guys, keep your mouth shut. Don't be like me. I made a mistake. I was naive. But anyway, long story short, I got my son back, and I've been sober ever since, and it's been 7 years. And I've utilized medication-assisted treatment during those 7 years, and that has helped me so much. And I'm a huge advocate for multiple pathways to recovery. I support medication-assisted treatment. I support medical marijuana. I support anything that you have to do that helps you stay straight. I support that. So it was ridiculous because I had a mother and father-in-law they had just bought in a brand new house, right? Rich. My mother and father-in-law have money, right? My sister has a great house, married, has money, doing good. My parents, Great. There was no reason why. There's no stipulations or anything like that my son couldn't go with with family. I'm telling you guys, CPS is a broken system, and what they do is they take children who have good families that are willing to support, and they leave the kids in the families who aren't. And those are the little kids that end up dying, and they get killed. And it's sad, dude. It's sad. There's a bomb-ass CPS lawyer on this TikTok account. She used to work for CPS or some shit like that. And she has a book, and I'm going to buy it, and we're going to read it. But I believe that every person has a right to, have a fair chance, and how can you build a case on somebody that you've never met? In the first hour of meeting me, I have been a drug user for all my life, blah, 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 and this is all because I volunteered that information. If I had kept my motherfucking mouth shut and just submitted what I had to submit and then got a lawyer, then I would have been in a lot better place, you guys. I'm telling you 100%. And the home I live in now, this house is where I was living. So it wasn't like I was living in a shanty somewhere with, broken windows and shit. My son has his own room. It was really fucked up. And what could have happened is it could have really set me back. My son could have gotten taken away from me, and I could have fucking went out and got high and never came back. Okay, and I've seen that happen to a lot of women. Their babies get taken and they are broken. They are broken. But I didn't let it break me. I used it as fuel to my fire. Because one thing about me is I hate motherfucking people who think that they can tell me what I can fucking do. And so I'm going to do everything I can to get my fucking kid back and never have to fuck with you again. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm telling you, that was I've never been through such a bad experience in my life than CPS. Okay? It is bad. It's bad. CPS let my kids stay at my parents' house, and I had to leave. Exactly, green-eyed ladies. And see, at this time, my mother and father-in-law, they had been living with us, but they had just bought a brand new house. Brand new, beautiful house. And so they were moving out of this house into that house. And so we were going to be here by ourselves. And so my little boy could have went and stayed with them, and we would have stayed here, and I would have went into treatment, and my son could have been with family. And that's the thing, like, the whole purpose is to not cause your baby any more trauma. Okay? But CPS doesn't care about causing trauma. They don't care. Okay? And so they don't care. If they would rather move your baby into some stranger's house than to not cause trauma to your son or daughter. I'm going to do everything I can. That is exactly what happened to me Okay, I will. Thank you for your story tonight. Oh, hey, Barb. What's up, girl? I hope you guys enjoy. I'm sorry. I kind of got on a little roll there. I don't know what made me start telling y'all. Oh, yeah. I was telling you guys how me and Neil got engaged. And that ended up into this whole story. This whole life story. But here's the deal. Like, I feel like a lot of the times there's a lot of you guys on this account, and then there's always new people coming. And so I feel like I need to tell y'all about me, because I feel like some of you guys maybe don't know or haven't heard the story. And that's just from the point I got married to my husband. There's a whole story before that, from when I was born to when I got hooked on drugs to what it was like when I was growing up as a little kid. Like, I have a whole, and all that is on my YouTube channel. And when I tell you guys, if you like listening to podcasts or anything like that, go to my YouTube channel and go to my playlist that says Addiction Story. And it's like 4 hours long, but you will laugh, you will cry, you will have all kinds of different emotions. It's like a roller coaster. You'll laugh your ass off, and then you'll be crying the next minute. Really, Melinda? Oh, that's cool. So I hope you guys enjoyed my little story tonight. I'm going to get off here because I need to go lay down. I'm tired. But I just really love sharing what has helped me, and I really appreciate all of you guys' support. It means a lot to me. So I will see you guys tomorrow, okay? Tomorrow, I'm going to do a new makeup look with those new eyeshadows I got. So I'll be on tomorrow at like 10 a.m. Central. 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, and we're going to do those new eyeshadows, which are so beautiful. So beautiful. When I tell you guys are going to die tomorrow when you see them. When I put them on my eyelids, it makes my eyelids look like they're wet. That's how sparkly they are. Okay? All right. Oh, and also, y'all follow me on YouTube and go follow me on my Facebook, because we have a huge Facebook community, and I go live over there too, if you guys want to. Okay? So, hey Tiffany, I'm eating I'm eating like a 1,200 calorie diet, and then I also take a medication called Tru-V. It's a over-the-counter medication. It's not prescribed, but it's a dietary supplement that helps with helping curb my appetite, and you can get it online. It's just called Tru-V, Truvy Boost, BOOST. And yeah, it just helps curb my appetite. And that was what a lot of my problem was. I had stretched my stomach out so much that I was like, I could just eat anything. And so I started taking those, and it helps me to not be so hungry, to where I could get my stomach back down. And so what has happened is, over the last couple of months that I've been doing it, is I've gotten it to where my stomach is getting smaller, so I don't eat as big of portions. And so for the most part, what I'll do is I'll wake up in the morning, and I always have a bowl of cereal, usually this Honey Bunches of Oats cereal. And then after I have my Honey Bunches of Oats, I'll go upstairs, I'll make my bed, I'll do my prayer and my meditation, I'll take a shower, just get ready for the day. And then what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to start walking in the middle of the day before I go get my son from school. And then I'll have lunch, which is normally like a turkey sandwich on wheat bread, like something real simple. And then if I have dinner, I always have it before 6 o'clock in the afternoon, okay? And if I eat anything at night, I don't eat a lot. Like tonight, I had a little cookie as a snack while I was telling you guys that story. But I've been able to lose 27 pounds. I went from 234 pounds to 207. So that's a big deal for me, because I couldn't believe I had gotten up to 234. That's the heaviest I've ever been. And so I know you guys might not be able to tell because I'm really heavy, but 234 to 207, that's a big jump. But it's taken me like almost 3 months to get to that point. And I'll tell you another thing right before I go. I stopped weighing myself every day, okay? One thing that I was fucking up was I was weighing myself every day, and when the scale would go up just a little bit, I'd get really, really, really discouraged, okay? So I stopped Tru-V, Truvy. I stopped Boost, BOOST. You have to get the Boost, you guys, because the other one doesn't have the thing in it that makes you not hungry, okay? I was weighing myself every day, and so when I would come down, if I just fluctuated like 1 or 2 pounds, I would get so fucking upset. And so I've stopped weighing myself every night, and I've just been trying to focus on eating smaller portions, way smaller portions, and that has been instrumental, okay? Because it's all about what I put into my mouth, okay? If I burn more calories than I put into my pie hole, then that's how I'm going to lose weight, right? And so what was happening before was I was not burning those calories. I was putting so many calories into my body, and I was not burning them because I live a sedentary life, right? Because I work from home. No, I don't take cough medicine. Yes, I'm on 0.5 milligram, a little bit less than 0.5 milligram. No bad effects or anything like that. No bad effects, and you won't. It's not like a narcotic or anything like that. Like, it's legit across the counter. But what was I saying? Anyway, yeah. Like tonight I had a little bit of a cheat. I had some jalapeno cheddar peppers, which I should not have had. I had 4 of those, which is, I shouldn't have had those, right? But sometimes you can have a little something as a treat. Tomorrow, I'm going to make sure that I eat really clean, and I drink plenty of water, and then I go out and I get my body moving. So tomorrow, me and my husband are going to take my son to get his hair cut. We're going to take him to get, we're going to go grocery shopping, get my son's haircut, and get my son his back to school outfit because he starts school on Monday. And then once my son starts school, then I'm going to drop my son off at school. This is my plan. I want to do this. Drop my son off at school, and then I want to go right across the street, park my car, and walk the track. Just in the morning, first thing, get it over with, right? And then come home, take a shower, and be done. So we'll see how that works out, though, because I'm the world's worst at that. I just hate the heat. Like, once it gets cooler, it'll be okay, but I hate the heat. But anyways, I'll see you guys tomorrow, and I'll keep y'all updated on my weight loss. I'm not going to weigh myself again until probably like 2 or 3 weeks from now, so we'll see how it goes, okay? All right. Good night, you guys.